young man. Well, I must say, you're looking very smart. You look like the kind of well-dressed young man who might like to wear Creed Aventus. Am I right? Thought so. But wait, why so glum? Oh, you find Aventus a little pricey, and you'd like a cheaper alternative. Well, I bet you've been to Perfume Parlour's website, haven't you? And you've seen they do lots of different versions. And you're worried you don't know which one to choose. Well, don't you worry, old chap. FRAG-MENTAL is here, and he's going to set you on the right path. Would you like to learn more? Well then, stay tuned to FM.
Yes, there's quite a dizzying array of Aventus clones on the market today. Each of these clone companies offering what they claim to be the holy grail batch of Aventus. Aventus, of course, is probably the biggest selling niche fragrance. It's certainly Creed's biggest selling fragrance. It's that fragrance that just does everything. It can be worn any time of year. It's really versatile, ticks all the boxes, ultra masculine, compliment getting fragrance. Most people know about Creed Aventus. The thing with Creed Aventus is over the years batches have changed. This is probably to do with the natural ingredients that Creed source to put in. Aventus harvests change, some are better than others, so from year to year and sometimes within the same year, batches of Aventus can be quite different. Most of the time, what you tend to find with the differences in Aventus, in my experience, is you'll either get smokier, woodier versions of Aventus due to the birch tar note that is present. Sometimes that is more prominent, sometimes less prominent. The other thing that you'll often find is the pineapple in there, so the strength of the pineapple. Sometimes it's juicier and more prominent, sometimes it's not. Some batches of Aventus are more balanced. They're a perfect balance of these two elements, the fruitiness and the woodiness. So, of course, all the clone companies are in it to make some money. So they have all come up with multiple versions of Aventus based on the different years of Aventus. Now, they can't just come up with the ultimate version of Aventus because when it comes to the real thing, some people prefer the earlier smoky versions, some people prefer the perhaps later fruitier versions, some people prefer the more balanced version. So the clone companies have to cater for all these different tastes. So they all have multiple versions. Now, if you follow my channel, you will know that Perfume Parlour is a company that I love. It got me into niche fragrances because I could smell such a lot of different fragrances for not a lot of money. So it really got me into it and gave me the big push to start this channel. Perfume Parlour have lots of different versions now of Aventus. I was quite surprised to learn they have 5 different versions. When I originally bought my Aventus from them a few years ago, I think it was the only version available, and I remember quite liking it. I gave it a good review, so you can go back and check that one out. But I don't know how consistent Perfume Parlour can be with their batches, whether it's exactly the same or not. But what I'm going to be talking about today is the 5 different versions of Aventus that Perfume Parlour offer. They call it Avalanche, so it's different variations on Avalanche. And I'll be comparing all of these 5 to my 2016 bottle of Aventus. I don't have earlier Aventus. I don't have the current Aventus. I'm going to compare it to my 2016 bottle, which I love. I think is a really good balance of the fruitiness and the woodiness. So each of these 5 Perfume Parlour versions are based on how they compare to my original 2016 Aventus. So let's get into the first one, which is Avalanche. The first one is just called Avalanche. There are variations on this Avalanche. As I say, I'll be comparing this to my 2016 bottle. I'm not sure what batch it's based on. I'm not sure whether it's just a standard kind of balanced batch of Aventus. I don't think they claim to base this on any particular year of Aventus. So this is their standard version of Aventus. And what I find when I'm comparing this to the original, first thing you notice, it absolutely nails the Aventus DNA. Seems to have a balance between the pineapple and the birch. I'd probably say it leans a little more to the woody side of things than the fruity side of things. Now, the thing that I get on skin with this, the first thing I notice is the bergamot in the Perfume Parlour Avalanche doesn't feel quite as crisp as in the original Aventus. It doesn't seem as distinctive, so it doesn't quite have that pop that Aventus has in the open, that lovely kind of fresh, clean bergamot pop, which is quickly followed by the lovely juicy pineapple. The bergamot's definitely there. It's not quite as crisp, not quite as refined. Overall, generally, I find this to be, I would describe it as a slightly muted version of Aventus. So it's all there, everything that should be is there, and it's in the right place, but it's just lacking a little bit of the quality, a little bit of the sophistication and refinement that the original Aventus has. If you're wearing this and people know the Aventus DNA, they will recognise it as Aventus. It is unmistakably Aventus. I'm kind of just nitpicking with these differences here. This is perhaps more for the connoisseur. If you're not that much of a connoisseur of Aventus and you're just happy to enjoy that DNA, then Avalanche will certainly do the job for you. Performance on this is a little bit less than the original, not by much, just a little bit. Overall, I would rate this a 7 out of 10. I think it's a good version of Aventus. It's not quite as good and not quite as enjoyable and not quite as high quality as my 2016 Aventus. So the first flanker to Avalanche we've got is called Avalanche Fruity. What I expected to get from this was a really amped up, juicy, intense pineapple, almost maybe with a little bit of kind of fruity sharpness to it, but that doesn't come through actually. The fruitiness in here, it is there, but it's kind of a fuzzy fruitiness. It's not such a well-defined fruitiness. It certainly doesn't really push that lovely juicy pineapple note. The fruity notes in here are not quite as photorealistic as in original Aventus. I would say the bergamot comes through more so than the pineapple, but the fruitiness just feels a little diluted. I don't think that, considering this is called Avalanche Fruity, I don't think it's fruity enough. I think it could definitely be fruitier. Nevertheless, it is still a really nice wear. It still has that unmistakable Aventus DNA. In the air, it is unmistakably going to be giving you that Aventus DNA, but comparing it on skin directly to my original Aventus, it's not as distinctive, it's not as crisp, it's not as well defined. Also, whilst I found the performance pretty good on this, I'd probably say 7 to 8 hours, it wasn't quite as good as my Aventus. It is an option for you to wear if you enjoy Aventus, and maybe it's worth trying out. Because this is all just based off my skin, perhaps it would work differently for you. But there are my thoughts on Avalanche Fruity, and overall I would rate this one a 6 out of 10. Next up is the one that I've purchased most recently, and I think I was probably the most excited to try because I'd never smelled it before. It's Avalanche Vintage. From what I know, this one is based on 2010 original batch of Aventus. I've never smelled that batch, so I can't really compare it to that original batch. But from what I've heard, I thought it was a smokier batch. I thought original Aventus was almost to the point where it was quite a divisive fragrance. That birch tar note was causing such smokiness. I don't get that with this. It definitely doesn't lean towards this smoky, woody birch note, but also it doesn't lean more towards the fruity pineapple, bergamot, blackcurrant notes. To me, it just seems to be a more amped up version of the original Avalanche. When I first sprayed this, I found it to be quite loud. I would even describe it as quite brash in terms of its projection, but to me it just didn't feel as well refined as Aventus. It wasn't pushing those hero notes of either the pineapple or the birch. It was just kind of an amped up version of the original Avalanche, and because of that it just becomes a little cloudier, a little muddier, and less crisp and less satisfying to wear, if I'm honest. It works nicely off the skin. Again, it's that unmistakable Aventus DNA, but it has this note in the background which may have been present in vintage 2010 Aventus, I don't know. But what I get from this one in the background is a smell that reminds me of, if you've ever opened up a can of fresh tennis balls, there's a smell of those tennis balls that rushes out. Now, it's not a particularly unpleasant smell at all, but it's just a smell that I don't associate with Aventus, and maybe that's just my association. If you've never opened up a tin of tennis balls, you won't have that association, but there's something in the background that stays throughout the life of Avalanche Vintage that just gives me that association. But the other thing that I get from this is it seems to be more of an oak moss accord. Obviously it's not going to be natural oak moss, I don't think they're allowed to, and I don't think Perfume Parlour would use a natural, but it definitely has more of an oak mossy accord, more so than my bottle of Aventus. So whether that is similar to original Aventus, if anyone is an expert on Aventus out there, please let me know if oak moss was more prominent in vintage Aventus, because maybe they're getting that one right. But this one just seems to stray a little bit away from the DNA of Aventus that I know and love. But overall, it's still a very good scent. You're going to get great performance. I would rate this one a 7 out of 10. Next is Avalanche Fruity Ultra. So you would think this is the one that pushes that pineapple. This is the one that gives us that lovely, juicy, photorealistic pineapple and blackcurrant and apple and bergamot. No, it's not. I'm not quite sure what Perfume Parlour were going for with this one. I imagine they were going for a more boosted, amped up fruitiness. If they were, I've got to be honest, sorry Perfume Parlour, it falls a bit flat. It doesn't have the refinement of Aventus, it doesn't have any distinctive notes, it doesn't have a distinctive and refined character. It just seems a bit of a mess, it seems a little bit muddled, very muted, it's not got great projection, it's not got good performance. This is the worst of the bunch for me. Perfume Parlour have missed the mark with this one. You know, it's pleasant enough, it's not repulsive, it's not disgusting, but it's not Aventus to me. I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 10. I've saved the best to last. This is a really nice version of Aventus. It's called Avalanche Woody. Based on the name, Woody, I thought it was going to be woodier, thought it was going to have more of the birchy smokiness. It doesn't go smoky. The woodiness definitely comes through, but it's more of kind of a warming woodiness. It actually seemed very close to my Aventus, so it seems well nuanced and sophisticated. It seems nicely blended. One of the things that I think is really nice about Creed perfumes is the ambergris. Now, I don't know if they use real ambergris or not. I'm assuming they do based on the prices of Creed, but I think it's this real ambergris that really provides the classiness, really provides the quality, almost this kind of silky envelope that all the other notes are wrapped in and presented to you. I think the ambergris is what helps Creed have such a quality fragrance. Now, considering that Perfume Parlour cannot be using real ambergris, they've done a really good job of matching this in terms of refinement to the original. The bergamot and the pineapple are really nicely balanced. One isn't pushed more than the other, it's just a nice balance. The woodiness is this warm woodiness that never becomes smoky. And as it dries down, the fruity notes kind of stay there but fade a little more to the background, and you're left with a lovely kind of warm woody scent just with that fruity nuance just faded into the background. So this is a really elegant and well blended version of Aventus in my opinion. I couldn't really tell too much of a difference between these two. If anything, I would say that, and this might just be my own experience, but the opening of this seemed a little rougher. Maybe it's just the bergamot was brighter and I'm interpreting that citrusy bergamot as being a slightly rougher opening. Some people may prefer that, but this one just opened a little smoother. The bergamot was still definitely there, but just did seem smoother in its opening. In terms of performance, this one is similar to my Aventus in performance, so both of these are giving me around kind of 8-9 hours. Initial projection is going to be, you know, a good couple of hours, and then the longevity on skin 9 to 10 hours. So if you were looking to purchase a really nice version of Aventus from Perfume Parlour, my preference and my recommendation to you would be Avalanche Woody. Overall, I would rate this one a 9 out of 10. I think Perfume Parlour still have scope to go in terms of a smokier version of Aventus. I still feel that they haven't released one that matches some of the smoky versions. I do have a small sample of a 2013 Aventus, which seems very smoky. Perfume Parlour don't yet have one in their Avalanche range that is as smoky as that, so perhaps we're going to get Ultra Woody. I think they should go for that. I think that'd be a good name, or Avalanche Smoky even. I put this video together because I'd seen that Perfume Parlour were offering lots of different versions, and I was trying to find some information. I couldn't really find any information comparing all these 5 to each other and to original Aventus, so I thought I'd put it together for you. If you want to purchase any of these versions of Aventus, if the real thing is a little bit pricey for you, which it is for a lot of people, then you can use my affiliate link, which is in the description below this video. You can click through there and get some good prices. These 30ml bottles that I've been showing you in this video are £18. You can get 30ml sprayers, which is what I often buy when I'm trying things from Perfume Parlour, and they're just £11. So you could maybe get a 30ml sprayer of all the different versions, find out which one works best for you, and then you could, you know, maybe buy a bigger bottle. But I'll leave the information in the description below the video. Also, you know, I'd love to hear from you guys. If you've got experience with Perfume Parlour Aventus, I would love to hear your thoughts. I know a lot of you out there probably have. How do you think it compares? How do you think each one compares to the other? Do you enjoy Avalanche Woody? Do you think that's the best version of Avalanche and Aventus? And how do you think the Aventus clones Perfume Parlour compare to other companies like Alexandria? Parfums Vintage obviously have a lot, and Dua. Let me know. And you know, obviously there's differences in prices between these companies. I find Perfume Parlour to be the most affordable based on the quality and based on the size of the bottles you get. But I know companies like Parfums Vintage offer great versions of Aventus. They are pricier, but the quality is really there. So share your experience on Avalanche, on Aventus clones, and it would really help anyone watching this video who's trying to get some information to decide which version of Aventus they're going to buy if they're not going to buy the original. So that's it. I hope you found all the information you wanted to in this video. Remember, these are only my opinions based on how these fragrances perform off my skin, so there's a chance that you might get slightly different experiences. So you know, just covering my back there, you never know. But those are my honest opinions that I wanted to share with you. I hope you found it useful. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, keep tuning into FM and keep smelling good.